So after living in Georgia for a year and a half, and with that, all but 4 months were spent living in Tbilisi, I feel like I'm finally ready to share all the things that make this country amazing. So I kind of just kept little notes on my phone throughout our year and a half stay, and compiled it into this little list that's now, I'm like super old school, old soul here, and wrote it down on a piece of paper. So I'm just gonna go through these. They're in no particular order. Again, just kind of taking my observations, my notes through the last year and a half, and randomly put them here. So let's go. Now this was definitely like an overwhelming observation I made, is that Tbilisi is stuck, and Georgia as a whole, is stuck in the 90s, and I mean this in like the best way possible. So for example, one, their style of clothing is very like grunge 90s style, which is awesome. You'll frequently see young kids, like 6, 7 years old, walking around by themselves or with their group of friends, and it's like, no big deal. It's awesome. When we go running at Hippodrome, there's this big tree in the middle, which, well, they're currently doing renovations on Hippodrome. It's now going to be called Central Park. So this big tree that I'm talking about might not be there in the next like year or so, but there's this big tree in the middle. And when we would go running, we just leave our drawstring bag on one of the branches that had, like our jump rope, our other like workout equipment. So we go running for 30 minutes, an hour, and when we would come back, our bag would still be there. Like, nobody touched it. They just left it alone. It was, again, like, this never happens, especially not in the US. Oh my gosh. Another thing with being stuck in the 90s is that your word goes way further than any money. So for example, when we would go look at apartments, we would, tour it with a landlord and be like, okay, wow, we love it. Can we take it? And they're like, well, we already told someone else that they could have it and they'll get it back to us tomorrow with their decision. We're like, okay, but we really want it, and we will pay you money right now. Like, how much does it take? We will put our deposit down right now. And they're like, no, we told someone else they could let us know. And so after we hear back from them, then we'll let you know. We're like, what? Or there's one time we looked at an apartment in Hippodrome, the M2 in Hippodrome, or at Hippodrome, and the landlord's very straightforward, like, listen, there's already 3 other people in line, and we're like, what? But it also works on the flip side. So when we toured, again, we love M2 buildings in Tbilisi. This one was at M2 on Kazbegi. So we toured it. We told the landlord, like, wow, this is great. Please send us the lease. We'll sign it. So we get the lease. We reviewed it, and we kind of re-reviewed our budget. And we're like, yeah, this isn't the best use of our money. So we told her, hey, like, sorry, we're not going to take this apartment anymore. And she was, like, legit upset with us. Like, what? You told me you wanted this? And we were like, but we never signed a contract, and we never paid you a deposit. Like, it's okay. So again, it was like definitely a little culture shock, but they are stuck in the 90s in the best way possible. Oh, another one. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot about this. Is that, what song is super popular there right now, especially among my teammates? And this was for 2 different teams I played on. The Macarena. They love the Macarena. They've learned the dance for it. Like, again, it's super comical to me, but I love the 90s. I wish I could be stuck in the 90s all the time. So this was amazing for me. This country loves sports. Like, absolutely loves sports. Especially, they have these little mini courts everywhere in Tbilisi. They're this combo of like soccer and basketball put together. So the surface is either pretty cheap turf, or it'll be cement, and then you have the basketball hoops on either end with soccer goals underneath them, and they are used all the time. So for Anthony and I, this was perfect because his favorite sport is basketball. My favorite sport is soccer. And again, they are so frequent, especially like almost every single every single like apartment area or complex will have one in the middle of it, and they are used all the time. So another thing is internet speed. So I would regularly pull in speeds of about 20, and I mean this is from public Wi-Fi when I was working at cafes, restaurants, bookstores. This was when we were at home. Granted, at home you can purchase, you can control the speed. So we would pay for speeds of up to 25, and we typically pull in about 20, which is more than enough for both of us to be on our laptops, our phones, streaming on multiple devices at a time. I would even pull in about 20 when I was hotspotting from my phone. So we used MagTeam, and if you look at my video called something like Best Apps for Georgia, something like that, you will see the hack in there about how to get unlimited data that doesn't like reach a buffering limit for 5 gel weekly. So check that one out. Again, just going off my list here. Modern apartments are so easy to find in Tbilisi. And when I say modern, I'm talking like these luxurious, spacious we only looked at 1-bedroom apartments. You can definitely get studios, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, even houses. They are like everywhere. So we would always go after the 1-bedroom apartments, and you could get those for $400 to about $600 a month if you were to sign a 6-month lease. You can also find some on Airbnb, which you can just reserve monthly for in like the high $500 to low $600 range. But again, they were super modern, and we said a combination of some were renovated buildings, or the building might have been older, but the apartment itself was renovated, as well as just these new buildings that are popping up, especially in like Vaque, Sabertalo areas. So for us personally, after all the places we lived in and stayed in, M2 apartments are hands down our favorite. For a lot of reasons. Their security on site, they typically have the downstairs at the entrance. You have to enter a door code to get in, so it's very secure. So after you get through security, then you also have to, for guests, you'd also have to punch in a code, and some of them actually have the camera. So even when you're up in our apartment and someone dialed in our code, we could see them on the camera and who they were. These apartments had the sprayers for the toilet, which after living in Asia for about 3 years, we have come to love. So that was nice for that to be there. They had stoves and ovens and these big balconies. So it was like, for us, it was super easy to live in a very, I would say, upper class apartments for very, very affordable / budget friendly. So they have these pay boxes around town where you can literally pay anything possible, right? When you first get there to Tbilisi, you're going to find these and think that they are ATMs because they look very, very similar. But after a while, you kind of figure out what's a pay box and what is an ATM. So at these pay boxes, again, you can pay anything. You can pay your tickets, right? If you get ticketed for not wearing a mask or ticketed for speeding or some driving, you can pay that at these pay boxes. You can pay your hosting services there. You can pay if you have any debt at a casino. You can pay that in these pay boxes. You can pay, now we used it to pay our utilities. We did some of our utilities online, but some other ones we just paid at the pay box because it was just one machine. You could just pay everything right then and there. So when we would pay rent to pay our landlord, we could deposit the money directly into her account through these pay boxes. It's so common to give out your full account number or your Georgian ID, which would be, it would be like similar to giving out, say, your driver's license number. So that's like frequently shared. And so we could use these pay boxes to just put money directly in there instead of having to go into a bank. We could just walk right outside our building and pay it through this pay box. Some other things you could pay are, if you use any shipping services, you can pay your fees there. You could pay, what are some other things? Tickets, just all your, what's it called? Your cell phone to tap up. If you didn't want to do it on the app or whatever, you could do it there. So again, these pay boxes were awesome. It's like your one-stop shop to just pay everything. Oh, you could also tap up your public transportation card, the bus/metro card for Tbilisi. You can tap that up there. So these pay boxes will frequently be at bus stops. So there's like no excuse for you to not have funds to take the bus. Another thing we loved were the cheap produce. So it is so easy to, one, not only buy your fruits and veggies, but for also to be cheap. Now, what we did is we first started shopping at the grocery store to kind of get like a baseline for what something should cost. And then once we had those numbers in our mind, then we would go out to the local vendors or some of the markets, and then we'd kind of know like, oh, you're totally trying to charge us that foreigner tax. Or the ones that would just, give us the local price. So again, I have a video on the cost of fresh food and bread there. So for example, like a bunch of bananas would be anywhere from like $2 to maybe $3. An entire bag of carrots would be like, think about the bags you get, the plastic bags you get at the grocery stores. That would be like maybe $2. So a tip here is to buy produce when it's in season. If you don't buy it, or if you buy it out of season, they have to import it, so it's a lot more expensive. But if you just buy the produce as it's in season, they will source it locally, and then it's like stupid cheap. So this was a big change for us, actually, coming from 3 years in Asia, where it's typically cheaper to eat out, street food and restaurants. In Tbilisi, it was actually cheaper for us to buy groceries and cook ourselves than to eat at restaurants. So that was a little bit of a change for us. But produce is so easily accessible in Tbilisi. Speaking on foods, you have to try their bread. It is crack. To describe it besides it is freaking amazing. So it took us a little bit of time to figure out what a bread store looked like, because most often it's in this like tiny little store with this tiny little window that's like literally just this size, and they usually look pretty run down. So like the first one we found, it looked like it was in like an abandoned garage. But anyways, what if you just look around and start seeing people walking with breads, kind of follow their direction where they're coming from, and it'll lead you there. Or if you see a long line of people outside of not a store, but outside of like a kind of rundown building, those are the best bread places. I'm a little sad that I didn't take time to film their process of making the bread, because it's so freaking delicious, and it's like a staple in the Georgian cuisine. I mean, basically every meal is served with this bread. Now, I believe it's called shoti, shoti, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyways, this bread is freaking amazing. And what's nice about it is that they don't use preservatives in it. So while it will spoil in like 3 or so days if you don't eat it, I like knowing that there's no preservatives in there. You can't talk about this country without talking about their wine. So rumor has it that Georgia is actually the birthplace of wine. They use this definitely unique way of fermenting it. They put in these like clay pots and then put it into the ground, so it has a very unique flavor. But so their wine here, it is so freaking cheap. Like, you can get high quality, good tasting wine for like $3 a bottle, and you can get this in the convenience stores like Spar, Nicora. There's a couple other ones I'm missing. You can get it from wine shops, but the wine is so cheap and so delicious. Like, we totally turned into winos during our 1.5 years here. Straight up. We went from drinking Sang Sung in Chiang Mai to bottles of wine in Tbilisi. So at the beginning of this video, I said this country was stuck in the 90s in the best way possible. But there's also some parts that they are way more advanced than we are back home. So you can get anything delivered to your doorstep. When I mean anything, I literally mean anything. One, not only do they have apps like, I mean, you're used to the food delivery apps, you know, like Uber Eats. So there they have Glovo, Wolt, Bolt Food. But at least on Glovo, there's this option called anything. And you literally can get anything delivered. You write, so the caveat, I should back up, is that it has to fit in their backpacks, which are, they're like, you know, they're actually pretty big. So you click on this anything option in Glovo, and you write in there what you want. If you have a picture of it, you can put it in there. If you have an idea of where they could find it, you put that in. If you don't know, I mean, they'll just go around town and try to find this thing for you. So I've had things delivered like peanut butter. I've had aloe vera delivered when I got burnt in Batumi. So I just had a bottle of aloe vera delivered because I was in way too much pain to walk downstairs to go to a pharmacy. One day or night, it was 1, cold, 2, rainy, 3, I was just too damn lazy, but I wanted bread, right? This amazing bread I just talked about. I wanted the bread, but I didn't want to go get it, so I chose the Anything app on Glovo and got bread delivered right to my door. It was amazing. Also on these delivery apps, they have it also set up with like alcohol stores, so you can get alcohol delivered to you. You don't have to show an ID. Actually, I don't even know if there is a drinking age there. I have no idea. Anyways, you can get, they also coordinate with children's stores. So if you need to get or buy puzzles for your kids, toys for your kids, you can do it all through this app, and it's delivered right to your door. Also, speaking of delivery, they have this amazing thing called USA to Georgia. There's also some other companies similar to this there's one called Kiwi Post. There's one called, what is it? Camex? C-A-M-E-X? I don't know. I didn't use those other two, but I definitely used the shit out of USA to Georgia. I didn't realize how much I used it until Anthony did his like how to use USA to Georgia video, and I was looking back through my account. I bought or used this for 44 shipments. Let me back up and say I kind of used Tbilisi as like my restocking town per se. Like after 3 years, stuff, just gets kind of used we're also in the middle of a pandemic, and I wanted some things to entertain me with, like, you know, English books or baking items, right? I'm not comfortable cooking in these grams. So I needed my cups and teaspoon measurements. So anyways, USA to Georgia, how it works is you don't have to pay to have an account. An account's free. So you sign up, they get you an address at their warehouse right now it's in Delaware at least. Get you a unit number there. So anything you purchase online, it can be on Amazon, on Walmart.com, Target, anything you purchase online. And also, you can use it for personal goods. So anything that you want sent from the U.S. to you in Georgia, you put this address they give you, has your name on it, your unit number at their warehouse. They get it, they'll take a picture of it, make sure you know it's the correct thing, and then within 2 weeks of it arriving at their warehouse, it'll get to you in Georgia. Now, if you have to like declare the amount in what's in there. So if the amount is more than 300 gel, which is basically $100, then you have to pay 18% VAT taxes on it, which is annoying, but whatever. You still get products from the U.S. from the U.S. to Georgia, and it makes it super easy. You can pay a little extra to have them deliver, once your packages arrive in Georgia, to have them delivered directly to your apartment. But they also have a shit ton of branches throughout Tbilisi. They're actually slowly expanding to Kutaisi. Now has an actual office. Before you'd have to pay for like a regional courier. Same with Batumi, but they're expanding other places. Anyways, in Tbilisi, they have a ton of branches around town. They also have what's called locker.ge at a lot of the malls, or especially in the Goodwills, that you can arrange and have them just put it in those lockers for you, and you can just punch in a code and get it there. So again, this made it super easy to order stuff from the U.S. that you maybe couldn't find in Tbilisi and have it sent to you for pretty cheap. They charge not only on the weight of the package, but also the size of it. So you definitely want to smash it in as much as possible. So like when I started playing professional soccer in Georgia, I wanted my shin guards from back home. I wanted very specific soccer socks to use. So I just had my mom put my soccer stuff into a box, had her mail it to this warehouse in Delaware that had my name on it, and they were also able to send that. So it doesn't always have to be online purchases. It can be personal goods. So we basically use it as, hey, if you guys want to send us anything to our family and friends, like if you want to send us anything in Georgia, you can use this. And so people in the US, right, they just pay to get it sent from wherever they're at to Delaware, and then you would have to pay the shipment from Delaware to Georgia. But it's very, very affordable as long as it's not heavy. So like when I purchased some books, I had like 3 books that were, they're hardcover backs. They're like, that thick. 3 of them, that shipping was about $30 or so, which, at first I'm like, shit, that's expensive. And I'm like, oh my God, but it's coming all the way from Delaware. It's literally coming halfway around the world. It's not that bad. But when I would order, say, some clothes, I had some shorts that I purchased and had them sent over here, just athletic shorts, it was like $4 or $5 because the package was small, and shorts, they weigh like nothing. Man, there are just like so many things I love about Tbilisi and Georgia, really, in general. So this next one is kind of relates to transportation. So there's this website called gotrip.ge, and if you need a private driver for anything, either if it's just like around town, maybe you have a late flight out of the airport and you don't want to gamble on if a Bolt will be available, or if you want to drive across the country, go up to Goudauri or Kazbegi. You don't want to take the public transportation options. So GoTrip.ge connects you with private drivers, and their cars have been vetted. They are all non-smoking, and they will take you anywhere you want. You pay, so like the driver will set their rate, but you just put in, where you want to get picked up, any places you want to go to, and then your final destination, and it will just say, whatever price it is, and you can sort by if you want a driver that speaks English or Russian. Right now, those are the only two languages you can filter by. You can filter by if you want a car, an SUV, a van. So we use this for, a lot of my soccer trips. My soccer games are played in these small little towns where the train wouldn't go. So or the train times were just awful. But Akaltsaki, Tel Aviv is another one. So we use this a lot so that Anthony could go to my games. And then we also just used it, again, we spent most of the time we spent in Tbilisi, a lot of it was during not quarantine, during COVID, where they would restrict public transportation or intercity transportation. So we use this a lot. Again, the drivers were fantastic. Now, we always told them up front, listen, we are foreigners. We're still scared shitless of how you drive. Please drive us slow. So anyways, you hire these drivers, and it's just one fee. You have them for the whole day, as long as it takes. Now, you will pay the same price whether you're doing a one-way trip or a round trip, because the drivers still have to get back to Tbilisi or wherever they live. So be aware of that. It's the same price, one way or round trip. But this was a fantastic service, and I highly recommend it to anyone who needs some transportation. So there is a Facebook group called Weekend Travelers, and there's definitely more words to this group, but I'll put it in the description below. Anyways, I should preface this by saying I joined the group, but I never went on any of their trips, but I did view it from afar. So anyways, this group that's run by two locals, and definitely has input from expats living there, but they will take groups of, it's mostly targeted towards foreigners or expats, but anyone can go. Anyways, they'll take you on these weekend adventures outside of Tbilisi for usually, if it's just a day trip, it's usually less than $30, and it includes everything, your transportation, insurance for them if something were to happen, usually 1 or 2 meals, sometimes your entry tickets to things. So they'll take you to some of the well-known places, Gori, Kazbegi, Goudauri. They definitely did a day trip up to Goudauri and had ski lessons for people, which was pretty cool. They'll also kind of take you to these places that you would only know about these if you were local. Anyway, so if you are traveling by yourself and you still want to take these day trips, but not spend an arm and a leg on, a private driver for just you and not really know where you're going or what you're doing, it's a fantastic way to meet other people and, like I said, to do these day trips. They are starting to expand into some overnight trips, but not completely. They also started to expand into people that needed to do visa runs. They would do a 3 to 4 day trip to Armenia, mainly Yerevan, and back. So anyways, I never took this, a couple reasons. One, at the beginning, it was all, COVID was running rampant, and I wasn't comfortable being in they take a 8 or 9 person van. I wasn't comfortable being that close to people in the height of COVID. And then the latter part of our stay in Tbilisi, I was busy playing professional soccer, so that was never an option for me, but it looked amazing. And again, I never went, but I had some acquaintances that did, who had great experiences, and the pictures that they would post and the reviews, and they just offer a wide variety. So if you are in Tbilisi and you want to do some like side trips, this is a fantastic way to do it. Another thing I love about Tbilisi is it is so walkable. Oh my gosh, the sidewalks are very wide. They're typically shaded, right? They have trees over them, so even like when it's hot, when you're walking, it doesn't feel miserable. To give me an idea of how walkable this city is, so one day I was working at Fabrica, and I'd worked there for like most of the day, and I wasn't quite ready to like go from sitting all day to then sitting on the bus to get back home. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna call my sister, catch up with her. I'll start walking. As soon as I'm done talking to her, then I'll just hop on the bus, right? Kind of get like my legs moving or whatever. I walked from Fabrica all the way to my apartment it was the M2 apartments at Hippodrome. Now, granted, it was like an hour and a half walk, but again, I felt super safe the whole time. I never once thought like, holy shit, I'm gonna get hit by these cars, because the sidewalks are so big and you know they're kind of removed from the roads there. So again, this place is insanely walkable. They also have a lot of underground passages so that you don't have to cross those super busy roads. You can just go right underground to get to the other side. So I have three, if I could make that number, three final things that I love about Tbilisi or living in Tbilisi. So one of them is that parks are very frequent, and they definitely put money into their parks. You know, currently they are renovating Vake Park. They're soon going to be renovating Vera Park. They're currently renovating Hippodrome. Like I said, that'll now be called Central Park. But anyways, parks are very frequent. They're all throughout the city, which is nice. And it's crazy. Like when we would sit in Vera Park, I mean, that is like right in the heart of Tbilisi. When you're sitting in there, I don't know how they do it, but you can't hear all the traffic and the noise going right by you. It's incredible. So parks are very frequent. They're everywhere. And also access to hiking is amazing. Like one, there's a ton of hiking in the Matsminda area up above Turtle Lake that you can do. As well as even if you just drive outside of town for like anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, there's tons of hiking in those foothills there, and most routes, at least the ones we took, all lead back to Tbilisi. So we've actually done a ton of hikes, even in the winter. The trails are very, very well marked. They're marked with these yellow, not only the yellow metal signs, but also the trees, right? Have the painted flags on them, whether it's white and yellow or like a red and yellow flag on the trees to help you along. Anyways, they're like, hiking is super accessible to the point where Anthony and I used to go hiking every single Sunday. Like that was just our Sunday fun day. We would go hiking, and we very rarely repeated the same hike or the same trail, just because there's so many different options there. So that's incredible. Another thing that I liked about Tbilisi is that if cops are called to help you, or you're involved in an incident where the cops are called, they will provide an English translation for free. Like as soon as they realize that you are a foreigner, especially one that speaks English, they will get a person on their radio or on their phone that will translate into English for you. And I think this is incredible, because they definitely do not have to do this, right? Like English is not their language. The languages spoken there are Georgian and Russian. And the fact that they even like provide that without second guessing or thinking twice, I think is incredible. Again, I think back to growing up and living in the US for most of my life, and I don't think we would provide that, or if we did, it would like be pulling teeth to try to get a translator for on the phone for someone involved in a situation. So again, I think that's like I don't know. I think it's incredible. Okay, and the final thing that I love about Tbilisi is that you can work all day from cafes, restaurants, bookstores, and they don't give a shit. Like, as long as you buy, water, food, drinks, whatever, you can sit there all day and nobody like gives you that dirty look like, damn, you're still here, you're taking up a table. Like, they don't care. So being a digital nomad, that was really nice where I didn't feel like, okay, I've been here like 3 hours, I should probably change locations. I mean, I would frequently, so Mondays and Tuesdays are like my super big work days. I would very frequently get to the cafe or wherever I was working from at the time they open. It's usually between like 9 a.m. is pretty early. Only like 1 would open that early. But I get there between, 9 and 12:30 or 1. And I would work there for like 6, 7, 8 hours. And again, they could not care less about it. So those are, I think that was 16. I'd have to go back and count later. But those are all the things I love about Tbilisi. And also, these basically apply all across Georgia. So we lived in Kutaisi for 3 months. We also took 1 month and just traveled all over Georgia. We went up to Mestia. We spent time in Batumi. We went to Borjormi. We went to Vardzia, kind of all over. And I would say that these things that I love about Tbilisi are very, very applicable to these other places in Georgia that we went to. So I would definitely recommend Georgia. Wow, I got a little bubble in my throat there. Okay. Anyways, these are the 16 things that I loved about Tbilisi after living here for a year and a half. So, as always, like the video, leave me a comment. What are some things that you liked about living in Tbilisi? Or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I feel like I'm finally ready to be like, yeah, you know what? I actually do know a shit ton about living in Georgia and Tbilisi. Subscribe for more unique travel adventures. Make sure you hit that bell, turn on those notifications so you're the first to know of any videos I release. And the next one will be right here in 3, 2, 1.